Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina. Come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got bam, hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? You're in the right place to hear the facts. Bring it home. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? The ladies are bringing the conversation. So join us on Say What across the nation. Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on.
Say what? Oh, I'm a little hampered today, but I'm working at it. Say what? Ladies, welcome to our listeners. We are so happy to have you with us today. We are one down, Miss Bettina, but we are loving her, missing her, and she will be back with us next time. But ladies, how are you doing?
I am wonderful, trying to stay cool in this here heat, but other than that, I'm good. And see, I'm not even going to complain a whole lot.
This thing right here will rock a potato outside. You could put a potato outside and cook it. Honest to God, you could.
You can cook everything outside right now.
There's no rain, so I like that. At least not yet. It's supposed to come back for, in a couple of hours. We're supposed to get a little bit, but I'll take it. And I'll take the heat, considering, the only other alternative is the cold. Give me the heat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm with you, Vanessa, all day. I can't deal with the cold. That's why I left my hometown, because I'm not shoveling another piece of snow ever again. But anyway, last year y'all tried to freak me out, though. We had a little bit of snow that you had to move. You had to move it. I was like, okay, y'all are going back on your promise to me, because I don't ever want to shovel snow. Sonia, how you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. And as you were talking about your hometown, I was thinking about what the people in the north are doing, dealing with this heat. I can't even imagine what they're going through right now, because, we used to it down here. Mm-hmm. Some days it's just a little hotter than other days, but I just cannot, we have air conditioning, and I know a lot of people up there don't, because it doesn't get this hot typically. They don't have to have air conditioning.
Well, actually, Sonia, you would be surprised. Philadelphia is nestled kind of, away from things. You got the Appalachian Mountains on one side, and you got New Jersey and Delaware on the other. So we're kind of nestled in there. Mm-hmm. Right now, actually, it is hotter up there than it is here. Boston is at 110. Philadelphia is at 101. And it is abnormal for Boston. For Philadelphia, we actually had that humid in the air. So, yeah. So, crazy stuff is going on. The kids are up. The doors are open. Now we go find an air conditioner. Trust me, stick it in the window. We're going to have an air conditioner somewhere. But at the same time, it's summertime. The kids are out. We would be up until, as kids, 9, 10 o'clock playing double dutch outside because it's hot. Yeah, so, you enjoy it. And you get a chance to enjoy it. But then, like I said, come September, you start feeling that breeze. Yeah, it starts kind of welcoming back. But they know how to handle it. We know how to find some stuff, some ice cream, water ices, whatever. I introduced Vanessa to water ices. She is my junior 58th Street person, because she just fits right in.
What is water ice?
Yeah, see, she don't know. Tell her, Vanessa. Tell her what a water ice is, Vanessa.
I don't know. Sonia, I know they had them in gas. These white cups. It comes in the white styrofoam cups.
A cupsicle?
It's
it's not an icy. It's not a snow cone. Remember snow cones back in the day? Right. They would just pour a syrup on top of it. No, water ice is different. It's actually crushed ice, and they mix the fruit in there, and it's fruity, and it's wonderful. So you have to have the beginning of summer. You have to have a water ice and a pretzel
Pretzel.
together. That is the
Pretzel.
introduction of summer.
Okay.
And I took Vanessa to one before they closed it here in Atlanta. And she was like, yeah, I see why y'all like to just, and they're free on the first day of spring. First day.
Oh, wow.
Only on the first day. So yeah.
Let me say this real quick, and I know we've got to move on, but one of my favorite summers, I'll always remember, I was 14, went with my stepmom to Ohio and visiting some cousins and things there. And they, it was so hot, but they turned on the fire hydrant. And water was everywhere. People were everywhere trying to get cool in the fire. It was so much fun. That was a wonderful day. It was just so much fun because we didn't do that at home. We didn't do that we didn't do that where I was from.
That is typical because most times we didn't have access to a swimming pool nearby. And in families, where I know down south, y'all would have certain places we just didn't have them enough. So they would turn, and they were called, for us in the Northeast, and Ohio's included too, water plugs. They were not called fire hydrants. So somebody in the block had a key to turn it to get it on, and we would turn it on. So it's nothing like coming home from work. Okay, this is 18, 19, 20. I'm trying to act like I'm grown, right? And people walking around with buckets waiting for you to get off that trolley and would drench you, right? So you running through the neighborhood with your purse, stop. So all of that went on. Outside, it was just, to me, I'm biased. There's nothing like the Northeast in the summer. So yeah, you just it's the way to be able to, in the hood, have a pool, because we didn't have a whole bunch of pools, and this was the way we did it. But the fire people and the police didn't like it because it was wasting water.
Right.
So, yeah, it is what it is. But y'all know we done went too far. We cannot go without the word of God. And the bishop is present. Oh, dear Lord. No. So, Bishop, what is it that thus saith the Lord?
Well, today he's speaking from Isaiah 43:19, the Passion Translation. And it says, behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And this verse is emphasizing God's power to bring transformation and new beginnings in challenging situations. It encourages us to remain hopeful and open to new opportunities that God may bring us. It also reminds us that no matter how difficult life situations get, whether you're in a desert experience or in the wilderness, however you feel, that there is hope. Remember, God is capable of creating paths that didn't exist. He can create a way for you, and leave you in awe. Oh my goodness. So I encourage us to be open and embrace change and be receptive to God's leading. Trust that he's actively working to do something new in your life, which can take many forms, such as personal growth, a new relationship, or unexpected blessings. There is nothing too difficult or too hard for our God. And I want to read another verse real quick, Philippians, just to support that as well. Philippians 3:13-14 says, brothers, I do not consider that I have made it my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. And so just know that sometimes we miss out on our blessings when we're looking back. We're wanting to hold on to what happened in the past. We're wanting to hold on to the old way of doing things. And I think about some of the seniors who are hesitant about learning how to navigate technology and use the computer and even the phone and all of those different things. But I just hope one day that they decide that they need to embrace it and just learn one thing at a time. Don't feel overwhelmed by it, because you get left behind that way and you miss out on some of the great things that God is doing in this season. And that is the word for today.
Well, Miss Vanessa, what do you think about this word?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Sonia read one of my favorite scriptures. That last one you read, I press on. That's one of my favorite scriptures. It's so well, the Bible, the entire Bible is. I'm not going to pull that out, but I was going to say it's so relevant. Everything in the Bible is relevant. That's why it's in there. That's our guidebook. But that's just one of my favorite scriptures, and I agree. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid. What's the worst that can happen? A lot of people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of not being
Failure.
successful. Yeah, they're afraid of failure. I mean, but and I know to some it's easier said than done. Not everybody's able to just let failure or rejection, roll off their shoulders, but it's it's a gift when you're able to move forward even after a rejection or a failure, and able to see, okay, that didn't happen, so it just means I can go about it a different way. It means I didn't go about it the right way the first time. I need to go over here and try it this way. And you still live. You live through it. Even if you are sad through the rejection, you're still alive. You live through it. Your feelings might be hurt, but it's all as well. So yeah, love that. Love the scripture.
Absolutely. I am the same. I am someone who is an embracer of change, but I do recognize people who are not. Um, Most times people don't like change because I don't know what to expect. Some people will stick with something that's ridiculous because they know the outcome. So a lot of times, right now I'm going to use for the sake of, talking about scripture. Sometimes in our churches, we struggle with dealing with something new.
Yeah.
This is the way we always done it. We've been here for 50 years and but we don't want to look at something new. We don't want to touch something new. And we consider you to be a problem for causing the new conversation. So sometimes people struggle with, understanding what new means. But the way that I have always interpreted this scripture is that's what God is saying when we get stuck in this, the way we do it. Well, manna is always here first thing in the morning. What do you mean ain't no more manna? It's been this long, all for 40 years. Where the manna at? And the scripture specifically says when they crossed that Jordan, the manna disappeared. They had to live off the land. So can you imagine the conversation with millions of people? Where the manna at?
That's why
What
they
do you
wanted
do?
to go back.
Exactly.
So they
So
were comfortable.
they were comfortable,
And
and that's what
familiar.
happens when you don't
That's
change.
it.
That's what happens when you don't change. So wonderful, wonderful scripture that we have to keep stirring in there because we get caught in, it being the same old way all the time. So thank you, Miss Tanya, for that scripture. Miss Vanessa,
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
us what's going on. Just what's going on.
Well, I'm gonna just try to keep it light.
Thank
Any,
you.
anywho,
Thank you. It's 90 something degrees. Just make
I'm
it
gonna
light.
try to keep it cool and light. So
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo, how light is that? Is that okay? Can we talk about Mr. Cuomo? He lost the New York City Democratic primary, and he lost it to 33-year-old Zoran Mamdani.
Mhm.
Good
And
attempt. Good attempt.
sorry,
Good attempt at that name, but go ahead.
yes, I might have mispronounced it, but you know, we didn't mean nothing about it. But anywho, so he lost it to 33 3-year old Mom Donnie, and people are saying, that was a message that was sent not just to Andrew, but to the Democratic Party overall, that maybe this time for a completely new overhaul, a fresh overhaul, new faces. What do you think?
So can I say this? How many messages do we have to send before we get it?
Hey, didn't we just finish saying, didn't we just finish
Messages.
saying,
I mean, the next message is by pigeon with a message on his foot.
but
I mean, how many
the last message we sent didn't work. So now we
how
gotta
many
go back.
messages do we have to have? So I want to bring to this point my son and my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, they are engaged. I'm excited. Um,
Congrats.
Came in my door immediately. His fiance said, "So what are we gonna do with this war?" I was like, "Well, hello to you too, right?" So what I loved about it is I love to see young people talking about what's
Mhm.
going on, because I see so many that just want to hold blind eyes and act like it's not here. So the conversation went on about different things going on, and I, we got to talking about his last name is Hogg. He was actually one of the students in Parkland, the Parkland shooting in
Yes.
Florida.
The
His
young
last name
kid,
is Hogg. I think his first name is Daniel. I
the
can't
young
recall.
kid, the young
Yes,
kid.
and he is part. Well, just recently got put out of the DNC, and his idea and argument was we need to primary most of these people in here and start bringing some new leadership. Well, the DNC has since, if I recall correctly, what I read in the article, put him out.
They said he was too vocal and too his ideas were too radical. They didn't
So
like what he was
again,
saying.
how many messages do we have to have before
They
we?
they want to continue things the status quo, keep it as it is. We don't like change. Didn't we just finish talking about that? People are afraid of change. It's somebody else's turn. I don't know whose turn it is this time, but it's somebody else's turn. I think I was watching The View, and Jasmine Crockett was on
Mhm.
it, and she was saying that she had heard that they were saying that they needed a safe white boy to run this go around.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? This is the problem 2016,
I'm just saying.
that why I believe, I'm not saying anybody else said it, I believe Hillary Clinton lost because her running mate she chose, she had the option of taking Julian, he has a twin brother, they're part of Congress, or Cory Booker to be her VP. And she chose Tim Kaine because Tim Kaine knew how to speak Spanish.
He was a safer option.
When are we going to learn?
They're not going to. I'm gonna tell you that right now. God gonna be to come back and guide us, and they still gonna be the same. I mean, come on, over 100 years, and we still dealing with the same old stuff. And
really, yes.
As you ladies were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, how dare they say that a person cannot be a part of the political party because they have an opinion, because they're vocal. Don't you want someone that's going to speak up and challenge things? Don't you want someone who's not afraid to stand up and say whatever, to bring their point across or what have you? We are watching this happen right now with the Republican Party. Why not have someone stand up and say just whatever they want to say or need to say, and hopefully it's for the good of the people? My thing is that they're concerned about the wrong thing. The focus is no longer about being a public servant. It's all about their own selfish needs and desires.
Gratification.
It's about what works best for me and my little, circle of whoever. They're not thinking about the people. They get up and they lie to us when they're campaigning and talking about how they care about the people and what they want to do for the people and how they're going to fight for the people. But I don't see anyone fighting for the people right now. And it's so discouraging.
I think that to that point, that's why you have, I like Andrew Cuomo. I like Andrew Cuomo, but I don't necessarily need that here. Right? So you can work a different way. And I want to go back and say something, Sonia, just to make sure I'm clear. The young man, his last name is Hogg. I think it's Daniel Hogg. I think it is his name. But they didn't put him out of the party. They put him out of the leadership. He was elected.
I was about to say I hadn't heard that, but I can't think of his name.
He wasn't put out of the party.
Okay.
It was leadership because they just elected a new leader earlier this year or the end of last year, one of the two. And he was, I want to say, pretty high up as far as close to
Right.
what the leader was. So that's why he could suggest we primary everybody, because he was in DNC leadership. So
But
he's still part of the party.
when he says, oh, go ahead, Sonia, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but that's just as bad.
No, I agree with you. But I just want
a leader. Why would you want a leader that you can silence and treat like a puppet?
Because he can't, because if he has his way, then I might be out of a job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm a part of the group. That
good old boy network.
Yeah, I'm a part of that. But if he has his way and he wants the primary, what if I lose the primary?
So this issue infects not only the Republican side, it affects both sides.
Yes. Absolutely, because he's with Democrats. It will impact everybody. Mm-hmm. So for me or him to suggest that, and I'm a part of one of the sides, means, hey, I could be in jeopardy of losing my position. So if I'm in a position to knock you down a notch where you are not in a position to make that suggestion and actually have it mean something, then I just might do it. So they did that to cover their behinds and to ensure that they had work, or at least were in it for a little bit longer than they might have been if he did have his way.
So I want to pose a question and just put it out there and use the example of a Nancy Pelosi. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love Nancy Pelosi, have mm-hmm. always. She is a brilliant woman who has been able to do amazing work. Mm-hmm. But there is an end to that. Right? Mm-hmm. So AOC, and they used to call the squad, which is not the squad anymore, but they were the squad. And they were trying to overtake that because AOC is more progressive. Nancy's probably closer to the middle. Right. So I did not agree that Nancy Pelosi should have been reelected. She's not the speaker anymore. I'm talking about just being part of Congress. Mm-hmm. Okay. She won her election last November.
Right.
So she is now in for however many years that they stay in Congress until, whatever. To the point we're talking about, as much as I love her, at 80-something years old, you don't need to be here.
Yeah.
I think that's where they should start, actually.
I agree.
Two areas. They need to put term limits. Well, they do have term limits, don't they? They can only be elected twice, can't they?
They just started the term limits within the last election cycle.
So that needs to remain. And they need to have age limits as well. Mm-hmm. Because some of them will be in there till they die. I mean, mm-hmm.
and a lot of them have been till they die.
Exactly. And a couple of them are, forgive me, I probably shouldn't say that. I was going to say a couple of them half dead or walking dead right about now. But, they're to the point to where they're incapable of making sound decisions. I mean, when you stand and you go completely blank at news conferences when you're supposed to be answering questions and people have to help you, or check to see if you're all right and, things like that.
Or you have a pulse.
Exactly. I mean, you're not doing your constituents any type of good. You're doing them an actual disservice by staying in that long. What use are you to me if you cannot physically do the job?
And that's the reason I brought up Nancy Pelosi, for the fact of when it moved from being Speaker of the House from her to Hakeem Jeffries, right? There was some conversation, and Nancy did not, from what I saw, stop the fact that, she was actually trying to help Hakeem Jeffries. And now he is the minority speaker, because she's not the Speaker of the House anymore. He's the minority speaker on the Democratic side. So again, it's not like you can't do anything. You can coach, mentor a lot of these younger, because to me, the skill set, the reason I like Nancy Pelosi was her skill set and how she was able to go in, even if it was the opposing side, and work out something where we weren't at each other's throats. So to me, that was her skill set. Right. That you can teach somebody.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of you being reelected at 80-something years, as much as I love you,
You got to
At
know
80
when to fold
something,
'em.
you need to sit down.
You got to know when to fold them. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. And
And why would you want to serve that long? When do you stop and enjoy your life and your family and your you know, I mean, I just don't get
I
it.
can tell
Is
you,
power that
power.
important?
It is power. Yes, ma'am. If I'm making rules and regulations that the rest of the country has to abide by, it could go to a person's head, as you would very well see what's happening now. I mean, power. It's all about power. You're making the laws. You're part of the lawmakers. So yeah, they don't want to let it go.
To the other side, I will also say, um, kind of like a Jordan mentality, Tom Brady mentality. When it was time for them to come out of sports, they struggled
It was
because
difficult.
they've done this for so long. You know, just giving another side to that argument, I've done this for so long. What else will I do? And with not being familiar with what else you could do, since we're talking about Nancy Pelosi, her husband was attacked last year.
Mhm.
You need to go home.
Mhm.
You need to go home and you need to be able to take care of what's going on at home. That man was almost killed last year.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So at this point, you got something to do. But if this, her father, in her defense, was, I want to say, mayor. He was never governor, but he was a mayor during the time that she was growing up. So this is in her blood. So at this point, it's more of the Jordan-esque, Tom Brady-esque, where they didn't know how to leave like they needed to.
Well,
That's the way I see it from the other side. But that's just my 2 cents. But one more story, Vanessa, right before we go.
Okay, well, I'll touch on Sonia just said something a second ago. Why wouldn't you want to retire? What makes a person want to stay there? This is a feel-good story. 81-year-old waitress said she couldn't retire, so a stranger helped raise over $300,000 for her to do so.
Oh wow.
And the waitress, her name's Betty. Betty said, I worked all my life as a waitress and I still can't retire. She said, but I can still outdo all these whippersnappers. I hadn't heard that in a while. Whippersnappers. So,
That is
so
sweet.
yes, Betty was waiting on a customer. The customer's name was Tammy Conzier. She was out of Pittsburgh, your area, Talisa. She's a TikToker and an esthetician. She was grabbing a bite with her son at a local restaurant called Eaton Park. And she noticed this friendly waitress named Betty. She started talking. Then Betty, made mention that, she's 81 years old and she still wasn't able to retire, whatever. One thing led to the other. The TikToker decided she wanted to help Miss Betty retire. And they raised over $300,000 for her.
God.
Can I just say, for somebody listening to this show, that is an idea for a nonprofit. Start a nonprofit, raise some money to help the seniors in your neighborhood and help them. It may not be 300,000, but if you could take care of this or take care of that, is an idea.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I think people need to understand also that retirement doesn't mean that you stop working, that you stop living. You just start to do something different.
Second chapter, your next chapter.
Yeah. And do something that you love. If you're not already doing something that you love and enjoy, do something that you love and enjoy. Do something that will allow flexibility in your life where where you have the time to spend time with family, pick up a hobby. If you already have a hobby, spend more time doing that. But I want people to understand, because I know, like, for instance, when I retire from a job, I'm not retiring from life. I still plan to volunteer and do certain things. And if I can do something part-time and make a little cash, that would be good too, but it's not going to be anything that I have to put much thought to it. As my husband say, like being a Walmart greeter, just stand there and smile and chat with the people.
Absolutely.
But I think we just need to stop looking at retirement as something like an end. It is the end of that, like you just said, that particular chapter, but life goes on, and it's more to life than you working that particular job as well too. So
Absolutely. I think I agree with you, Sonia. I think it is still an idea that we struggle with accepting, because we think we just gonna sit on the porch and your foot in the barrel and soak your feet and just, no, there are plenty of things you could do. There are people who aren't as senior, 60 something, that will take the 80 something person to get their hair done because they're not driving anymore. Little things like that you can do that help the community, brings people together because you get to know people. And that's something that keeps giving over time. It just keeps recycling itself because we're all going to end up at that stage. And we can work on not just, sitting here and doing nothing. There are plenty of things to be done. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Amen.
My chair is squeaking, trying to say amen, but
absolutely. It might be an old chair, Vanessa. It might be trying to.
I need that WD-40. I need to get that WD-40.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the stories. We're going to try now, even if it's once out of the month, to have something positive, because a lot of the news is so negative, that we want to at least have something that we can, smile about. And we're going to try to do that at least once a month for our shows. So thank you so much, Vanessa. So I want to go back to the scripture. Isaiah 43:19. God says, I'm bringing a new thing.
A new thing.
That comes to our conversation today about, shooting your shot. That's the title of the show today, shooting your shot. It's typically, traditionally, when it comes to trying to talk to somebody new, you're interested in this person. And as the female, I've always seen, and I want you ladies to chime in, I've always seen where the woman waits for the man to say something to her. But do you think that tradition needs to stand? Some men say, it's a little too forward. I don't want her trying to come at me and say whatever. So ladies, what do you think about this subject matter? How do you see it?
So I think, and I'm going to go back to what we said earlier. So my thoughts on that. Do you? And I say that because it just depends. You just said some men might think that's a little too forward. If you approach a man, being female, you approach a man he thinks is a little too forward, be prepared for rejection, or, or be prepared for it not possibly working out. So if you do that, be prepared for whatever the outcome is, because there are some men out there who likes to be the hunter. They like to be the one to approach. Once, for me, before I married, I can't recall ever approaching, but I flirted. I didn't mind smiling. I'll smile at you. I smiled at you if I liked you. I didn't like you, I act like I didn't see you, and you didn't see the teeth. You didn't get teeth. But that was my way, I guess, of approaching, but not approaching. Because, what harm is it in smiling? You don't smile back, which most of them did. It's amazing how far you can go as far as meeting a person just by smiling and presenting yourself friendly, which is what I've always done. I mean, I've been told that my face, when it's resting, is that RBF. So I try, even now, I try to make sure I'm somewhat smiling. I try to make sure behind the scenes, I got to smile somewhere, and you kind of see it. But, it's amazing that, men won't approach you if they don't think that you're friendly enough to approach. But as far as the woman, I say, do you. I mean, if that's what you want to do, fine. But just know that there are men out there who prefer being the one to make the first move. But I don't see anything wrong with it, just as long as you're prepared, to possibly running into someone who might think the opposite should occur.
Okay. Miss Sonia, what say you?
Well, ladies, I've been married for so long, but I do, because I am a baby boomer, I prefer to be pursued. And I just like it. I do agree with Vanessa in saying that, whatever works for you, I'm not against it. And I believe that I could approach a guy. I've never had to. And again, like Vanessa, I'm that girl that, yes, I make myself approachable. I always have, even though I'm married, people try to push up on me sometimes because I do smile and I do strike up conversations in the line and, or sitting here or ask someone how they're doing. But I'm not doing it because I do that because I do that as a married woman. I believe I would still do that as a single woman, and that would open the door of opportunity to meet more guys if I was in that position. I do believe. I think one thing that hinders a lot of women now, and I was sharing this with a friend of mine the other day, is that um, it's hard for some women to meet men because you're working from home. You're not out there where you can meet the guys. There were times when you might meet someone at work on the way to work and whatever. But if you're always, everything that you do is done in your home behind a screen, it's kind of difficult. And you have to find things, hobbies or something to put you out there where you are seeing and meeting different people, to give you the opportunity to meet someone. But yes, if you bold enough to walk up to a guy and ask him, his name and do we want to have a cup of coffee, I say go for it. For me, I don't want to do that.
Because even in doing that, depending on the guy, it could send mixed signals. Because
absolutely
think you're one way that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it all depends on the guy, and it depends on the approach as well. So that could go either way.
And I can hear a guy saying, "Well, you approached me."
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, we got a guy who wants to talk, and I believe Miss Sonia knows him really, really well. This is Mr. Corey Chapman. Yes, the last name is the same. That is Sonia's son, Doug Bishop's son. Yeah. So we want to bring him in the conversation to add that male piece. So, Mr. Corey, how are you? You are muted. Can you take yourself off?
Good evening, ladies. How are y'all doing today?
Good
evening. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. Been a good day.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Glad. So, did you hear our question? How do you feel like women we should be shooting our shot? Do you feel like we need to be traditional? What say you?
I will say this it's a new day and age, so anything is possible. I can honestly say I've had a fair share of women shoot their shot, and not totally like in a super direct way, but it's been some subtle moments. I'm good with my hands. I'm good around the house fixing things of that nature. So there's been times where, hey, can you come put up this TV? Can you come do this? Right. And so exactly. And so from that has sparked a few conversations, a few dates and things of that nature. And then also, just for me preferably, I also do enjoy the chase, or the pursuit for the most part, especially if I'm out with the guys. I like a good conversation, buy them a drink, or let's go grab a coffee. One of the biggest things about me, I've been out, and if I meet a lady the first night or something like that, the very next day or 2 days, I'm trying to go to brunch or grab something to eat because I'm trying to see if the chemistry is even there. Because at the end of the day, it's not enough to figure it out inside of a bar or club or wherever it may have you. So I try to, either way, they can pursue or I pursue, but it's open mindedness. And even just for a male, sometimes being pursued, it's flattering at the end of the day. Anybody would think that, male or female. So I think honestly it could go either way, especially just being in the new time frame we're in nowadays.
So I like how you put that. You said, it can happen. Vanessa mentioned a smile, whatever. Now I'm going to bring a different part, right? Having lived in two parts of this country, the South and the North, I'm getting ready to go home in a couple weeks. I guarantee you, Corey, when I get out of the airport, it'll be guys, hey, how you doing? Right now, I don't see that in the South. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see too much of hollering unless you're going past a construction site. Is that accurate?
I guess that's changed. I'm not gonna lie. I've been one of those guys where I can't lie, but I also, with me having daughters now too, I think about the approach how I want them to be approached for the most part. So I've certain ways that I may approach women in the past. I don't do that nowadays, or certain for the most part. But yes, I get you. That is it, yeah. That yelling, "Hey, what's up, shout," or whatever. It's still possible, but you're right. I haven't seen it out here too much lately in a while.
I haven't, and actually, I will be honest and transparent. I look forward to it when I give. Hey, girl, how you doing? But people exist. I don't need y'all to be quiet. Now I'm gonna just tell a little secret. I promise you, I don't know what it is about QT, but I will meet guys at Q. I don't know if it's the gas. I don't know if it's the hot dogs inside.
Well, QT.
I don't know what it is.
But I'll question for you, Corey. Um, so you have daughters. How would you want them to be approached, or does it matter? Would you want a guy to step to them, or would you be okay with them stepping to a guy, approaching a guy?
I'd be okay either way. I say that. So I work in property management. There's this leasing agent. She's 21, 22, something like that. And I actually found out she had interest and someone we know that's a little older. And so it was like, well, sure, why don't you just go talk to him, let him know, because he didn't know. But she actually comes off, or not comes off, but she actually does prefer to be pursued herself. So even still, like, as if it's, I feel like if you like something, if you're into someone, just open up, just say it. There, you never know until they won't know unless you say it, and you never know what opportunity or what good relationship could be passed on by not saying anything. And it could just be little as light as a woman saying, let's go grab some coffee, or let's go grab a drink." Like I said, it can just be little subtle hints, subtle things to
Okay.
put it out there.
Okay, because that was my next question. How, without her just being just forward, coming out and say, "Hey, I don't know,
I'm
so
attracted. I'm
you have
interested.
attracted
Right.
or
Yeah, it don't
whatever."
gotta be
You
straightforward
see,
like
I'd
that
have
as
to
a
work
guy
on
or
my
whatever.
line. I'd have to work on it. But besides, other than her just being straightforward in that manner, how would you suggest you say coffee, inviting them to coffee? Would you like to go
Yeah,
have coffee or
whatever. Yeah, something like whatever, um, something like, but whatever the woman is into, just try to bring him into the interest, and without making it seem something too too, like, too straightforward, or like you're trying to put yourself out there, but something friendly enough to where he can catch the vibe or catch the hint
innocent
that
enough? Okay.
exactly innocent enough.
So
Mhm.
we could talk sports and just, he'll be
Right.
able to have a conversation and
Exactly.
hey, we need to go check out a game and we need to blah
Exactly.
blah blah. Is that what you're
If
saying?
Yeah, because if my woman likes sports, I'm gonna enjoy it. Let's go watch some college football together and talk it all day. Same team or not, let's go talk junk and have fun and whatever. Yes, I
Okay.
feel like,
Are
especially
some
whoever
men
you're dating. Go ahead.
no, please finish.
I was just gonna say, whoever you're dating or decide to be in a relationship with, like, at the end of the day, it should evolve from a good friendship in the first place. So if
Mhm.
you start dating, if you can't have that chemistry first off like that, then what's the point?
I
So
like
like,
you, Corey.
I truly
Wow,
enjoy
we
like
both like Corey, but look at his pedigree. Look where he's
Look
from. So I
Look
mean,
at my nephew. Look at my nephew. I love this man. Go ahead, Corey. I'm sorry I cut you off, but keep talking. I'm sorry.
but yeah, I truly enjoy when it comes to me trying to have a relationship. I want a good friendship at the end of the day. I want to naturally joke and laugh. I'm a person who like to talk junk all the time, whether it's about sports or just about me messing with you or you teasing with me or whatever like that. I want to enjoy life in the most simplistic ways, and we can do stuff in the most extraordinary ways. Also, but if the foundation isn't there, that friendship, the extraordinary won't be there later on.
Mm-hmm. I like
Absolutely.
that.
Miss Tanya, do you have a question?
I want to address with the woman who chooses to make that move or shoot her shot, or even a man. Yeah, because rejection is hard to take.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll ask you this from a male's perspective, twofold. How do you, the woman shooting her shot, how do you say no or let her know you're not interested without being hurtful? And the second thing is that how does it make you feel when you're rejected by a woman that you approach?
So I'm gonna go with the second question first. Uh, Not many people know this. I'm gonna get a little vulnerable, but long story short, when I was in middle school, I had asked this girl to be my girlfriend, and we kids. Anyway, she said no, and she said it in front of everybody, and she was like, "Ah, you ugly," and so forth. And so that kind of messed with me for a while for pursuing taking a shot of no, because that whole thing of rejection. And I got to a certain point in age. Uh, I think hanging with the homies. We was on a trip sometime when I was in high school in California, and they messed with me for not going to go shoot my shot at this young lady or whatever like that. And so from that, I was like, well, shoot, I ain't trying to get picked on never again, but not by the friends. And so that they're kind of boosted my confidence because at the end of the day, it's like the only thing they can do is say no, and who cares?
Exactly.
Is more out there. And if she say no, that means it just wasn't for you at the end of the day, or he say no, it just wasn't for you. Um, and then two, to the first question, how do you reject? I honestly I learned again just from previous relationships, just be honest. You just, hey, I'm not feeling you. I mean, I get if you don't want to hurt feelings and stuff like that. There is tact and a certain way to deliver certain things. But at the end of the day, just be honest. Because when you tell lies or leave it open ended, that's what keep the person trying to, you know, keep interested in you or figure out something, bugging you at the end of the day. When you can really just nip it in the bud and just, I'm not feeling it. This is not where I'm at, or whatever like that, and so forth, and just call it a day.
I like how you put that. I want to give you a little bit more of a challenging question. Let's say you're dating, the woman approached you first. Now you both are dating, getting to know each other, right? You said you do like the pursuit, you do like doing things like that. So, how do you turn it back around in the relationship to you being the pursuer or the person kind of protecting her, looking out for her? Because sometimes roles get reversed. If
Mm.
I come at you, then I kind of take on, because there are women that do that, that take on that male part of things, and the guy is like, well, you don't let me do anything for you, or you don't let me. So how do you see that, Mr.
I like
Corey?
that question. Honestly, there's a balance. Um, I will say I have dated somebody who didn't mind like taking checks or paying for dates and doing things of that nature, and being so pure, like I get ready to pay, and I got it. All right, I get ready, she got it, and so it's been one time I was like, look, you're not paying for it. I got it this time. I got it next time or whatever like that. And so we also got to the point to where, you know what? We'll play rock, paper, scissors. So whoever loses gotta pay at the end of the day. So like it been times where I lose probably like two, three times in a row, or vice versa. But it got to a point where it wasn't a critical thought of who's going to take the check, who makes. It's not about who made the more money or this and that. It was more so about us truly enjoying the time, and it got to get done regardless. But we found a balance to it.
Absolutely. I like the idea that you said found a balance to it. a lot of times by the time it gets that far down, they're coming to see a therapist. See, she won't act right and he won't. And we didn't find the happy medium. I like the
Hmm.
rock, paper, scissors. I can imagine seeing y'all at the table and somebody's like, all right, 1, 2, 3, go. You know,
Right.
and they looking at you like, what are they doing? What are they? They're trying to figure out who's going to pay. But the bigger part is that you had a conversation about it versus allowing it to roll on.
Right.
Nobody's addressed it. It's now a problem that needs a third party, a therapist, because she don't understand and I'm trying to do for her and she don't understand. So again, it even works on the other end.
Right.
If she's waiting for him to do and he's like, well, this is the way you met me.
Right.
This is how we gonna be, you know. So again, there's no conversation. What were you saying to that?
And so to even piggyback on that too, like regardless of her, like the woman does pursue and she don't mind paying for a few days. A woman at the end of the day, I don't care what woman it is, at least 95% I can I don't know why every woman, but a woman does wants to be pursued. A woman does wants to be taken care of at the end of the day. So if she shot her shot in the very beginning, it is still up to the man to show how much he still wants her, take her on dates, do surprises. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get creative with it at the end of the day. So it's not always put on her. You know, you know, she call you sometimes, say, let me take her to lunch. But a week later, have something creative up your sleeve and just, hey, meet me here at such and such time and wear this or whatever, something like that. But at the end of the day, a woman still does wants to be courted. So as long as a man is always keeping that um in sight, it shouldn't be raise a problem.
So let me ask this. So you've been courting, okay, she shot her shot, whatever. Okay. So I'm going to take it to the next level. How do you feel about a woman asking a man to marry her? If let's say woman wanted a woman came to you and
All
asked
right.
you
Now
to
that's
marry
where
her.
I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. No, but now that for me, I want to be able to do it. I feel like if a man truly honors his woman, he would do that before she feels the need to have to do that to bring up that question. In my opinion, I've actually had a woman ask, like, "What if I propose to you?" Better not. Like I would like to do it. Like I said, it's flattering or whatever maybe, but like I that's in my opinion, I think that's where that one gender role probably just plays a part. Let the man show you that he wants you. Because at the end of the day, a man can take advantage of the fact that a woman is trying to propose in the whole nine. Funny, I had some guy ask me yesterday, a homie talked about, what if your wife was the breadwinner and she made you like a house husband, and would you do X, Y, and Z? I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'll take care of the house. I said I'd still be working, but I'll take care of the house, make sure things is good, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But he said, along with that, he knew somebody or a conversation, the person cheated on his wife and she was the breadwinner. It's just like, why would you do that? And so it's the whole thing again, like taking advantage of a situation of what a man can do. And women can too, don't get me wrong, it can go both ways. But when it comes to the whole proposal, i'd rather I'd rather take on that opportunity.
Okay.
That's an amazing answer. Can I just
Mhm.
say? And again, it requires conversation.
Hmm.
The main thing we're discussing is roles. What are
Right.
the roles that we play? How do you fall into a role or not? Right. So we got to figure out, what needs to happen, what doesn't, so that we understand which way we want it to be. So that's an issue. So you told her you better not. Is that what you said? Is that what you said, Corey?
Pretty much.
Corey said you better not. You better not. But there are women doing that. So
Yeah.
Yes.
so how do you feel about women that do? They feel like I'm an ass.
Hey, I haven't came across that woman yet, so
But you're putting it out there in case somebody's thinking about it. They see you and they think about it. They watch this and they think about it. They better not.
Not me. Yeah, I prefer.
As far
Because
as
a man, at the end of the day, a man, I feel like a man knows within a certain time frame of dating, being with his woman in a relationship, he knows whether or not he wants to propose to her. It's just a matter of certain timing, preparing, doing whatever needs to get done to get there. But a man knows in a certain time frame when he truly wants to marry a certain woman. And I just know that from just having conversations with friends and stuff of that nature. Like, half the time we just stay in a relationship because just comfortable and like I done heard guys say, I know I ain't finna marry her, but we just chilling right now, blah blah and the third. So like, yeah.
I had a pastor. Well, I didn't. He didn't talk to me personally, but he was in church, and he said those exact same words. He said a man always knows whether or not he's going to marry the woman he's with, and he knows within a short period of time after being with that woman, being around that woman, if he knows whether or not he's going to planning to have a future with that woman. So yeah.
Common got this song called "The Light," and one of the lyrics, one of the lines in there is one of my favorites. But he said, pretty much says, "It doesn't take all day to discover sunshine."
And that's true. And that's the same thing the pastor said. He said it doesn't take years for the man to know whether or not that's the direction he wants to go with that person. They know immediately. Now, why they hang around that long, only they know, but it doesn't take long for that person to, or at least a man anyway, to know how long, whether or not he's going to have a future with that woman.
Corey, I want to ask you, based on what you guys were just saying, is from a male's perspective, what is a red flag for a woman to know that this man does not want to be with her till death do them part? What is something that a woman, without breaking the man code of, y'all have y'all little, but what is something that a woman can see to know that, okay, this is probably not going anywhere, even before she have that conversation with him? Because sometimes women stay in relationships for years and that man have no intentions on marrying you. But if it's something that she can just see or notice, so what is that thing? Maybe, possibly, because now we know not every situation is the same.
And Corey, we got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
One thing I noticed, women pay attention. They're very observant. So to say the least, once you see that pattern switch up, because men are very patterned for the most part. We stick to the same routine or certain habits per se. So when you start seeing little changes and stuff like that, and then woman come ask said questions and the communication is off, that's a good enough red flag in my opinion. Okay. And that's just based off experience for myself too.
Okay.
Absolutely. And again, it comes back to conversation. We need to have some conversation. And a lot of times people stay in stuff, and we had this at the beginning of the show, because we don't like change. I'm scared of change. And maybe if I stay with him some longer, and I know that's bad English, but maybe if I stay with him some longer, then everything will be good and he'll come around and we'll do. No. Like you said, Corey, you know, first off, but sometimes you have people who are trying to manipulate the situation and be there as long as you allow that to go on. Yeah. So y'all know we could be having a conversation like this forever. Corey, you will be coming back. Corey just exposed some stuff from middle school. Oh, you're going to be back. You're going to be back. Yeah,
you told the man code.
Absolutely. And our listeners, we love you. We thank you so much for being part of our conversation. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about some more, and we're gonna get Corey to tell some more man secrets.
Yes,
absolutely.
I look forward to it.
So we love y'all. Thank you for being part of the show. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina. Come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You want to cheat? You You wanna chat, you wanna talk about this and talk about that.